Hello, good morning. Now we continue our American literature. As you know that we have covered some topics and I feel that you are following me. Now the pieces of poetry over. Now we go to the short stories that has to be discussed. As you know, a story now in your page number 40, written by William Faulkner, Barn Burning. Then you take your textbook and open Barn Burning, written by Faulkner. You know, Faulkner is very famous writer, better to say acclaimed popular playwright and short story writer, novelist, and has been recognized with the Nobel Prize. 1949, he achieved Nobel Prize for literature and has been acclaimed a prolific writer because of his tendency to create novel thoughts in his writings. He has published so many books and so many novels. Apart from literature, he even has been thinking about scientific inventions, people say. And Sound and Fury in 1929 was acclaimed writing. As I Lay Dying, another one. Light in August 1931. Now our story, we go to Faulkner's Barn Burning, a typical type of subject matter to be discussed. Here we find one father and a son. Son's name is called Sarty Snobs. S-A-R-T-Y, Sarty Snobs. He is the protagonist of the story, Sarty Snobs. And his father, Ebener Snobs. So these Ebener Snobs and his son Sarty Snobs has some influential characters and they have some inner conflicts. The writer says a conflict between loyalty to one's family versus loyalty to honor and justice. The subject matter concerned in the story is that Ebener Snobs is always having a tendency to an arsenic nature, means he wants to disturb the neighbor people, and even he inavely or indirectly burns some barns in order to take revenge. In the beginning of the story, now we find our Ebener Snobs was arrested and produced in front of the justice by a neighboring person who is called Harris. So these three important characters are prominent in the story. One is Sarty Snobs, son to Ebener Snobs. Ebener Snobs now is being produced in front of the justice or judge by the recommendation for the appeal of Harris, whose barn recently has been burned by these Ebener Snobs. So story goes in this way, in a narrative style, where these three characters, particularly Sarty Snobs, has inner conflict. Even when the judge calls him to tell against father, he does not open his mind. The story is a lengthy one, so we have to do in a no-detailed shape. That you take page number 40. Story goes like this, as an an expositional field, how and when the story happens to so. The store in which justice of peace is caught was sitting and smelled of cheese. Now the writer being a boy, or the protagonist Sati Snobs being a boy, has a tendency to smell everything. And our judge was sitting, making the small temporary court, where he was sitting in a bakery shop like room where lot of cheese was there, which totally smelled and pretend what is called cheese. The boy crouched on his nail keg in the abode of a crowded room, knew he smelled cheese, though it was a serious matter to be discussed there. His own father, Ebenezer Snobs, arrested and produced in front of the judge. And he knows that is something going to be happened. Sometime his father will be punished. But as being boy, he was smelling the cheese of the room. And more, and from where he sat, he could see the ranked shelves close packed with solid, squat, dynamic shapes of cans whose labels and stomachry not from the lettering, which meant nothing to his mind but scarlet devils. Underline scarlet devil. All the judges having some particular wig and all that, keeping on their head to pronounce judgment. So here our judge now sitting for the boy Sati Snobs. He seems to be a devil. And what a type of devil? Scarlet devil, mean red color in devil. He appears to be a very scarlet in devil. Silver curve of a fish. Thus cheese he knew that he smelled, and hermetic meat, that which he instances believed he smelled, coming intermittent gust coming in between, momentary brief between the constant wonder, smell of senseless little fear, because mostly despair and grief, all the fears full of blood. He could notice the table where justice and before his father, and his father's enemy. Our enemy, he thought that it is despair, mine and hasn't both. Here's my father. Enemy is Harris, the neighbor whose barn was burned by his father. He could hear them, two of them, that is because his father said nobody yet. Then judge asking Harris, what proof have you against Mr. Ebenezer Snobs? Mr. Harris, judge was asking. Then he says, I told him, my lord, the hog got into my room. This man's hog. Hog is a pig. Probably pig, a domestic pig. This man's hog came to my house. I caught it up and sent it back to him. Once it came, I caught it and sent it to his house. But on the following day, he had no fence, because in his house there is a barn and there is no fence for it. So always pigs are coming out of his house and entering to my field. Had no fence hold it. I told him, warned him. I several times warned him, don't allow your pigs to enter to my house. The next time I put the hog in my pen. One day, out of disturbance, what did I do? I arrested this pig and put in my pen. Pen means a barn type of place where domestic animals are kept. When he came out, he gave him enough word to pitch this pen. The next time I put the hog up and kept it. Again disturbing. One day I kept his hog in my pen and spoiling the stall. I told him he could have the hog when he paid me $1 pound fee. Then one day I told these Ebenezer Snobs, if you pay me $1 as a penalty, you can take your hog. Otherwise, very difficult to give you back. He said to tell you wood and hacking. But another day, following day evening, a nigger came. Nigger means a servant, or probably a servant, or what is called a negro. A negro king. And he said, probably servant of Ebenezer Snobs, working in the field. He said to tell you wood and hecky bin. Then he told me, okay, you take $1 as a penalty. But mind you, one day or another day, your barn will be burned. Wood and hay can burn. The night my barn burned. Underline the last line of the page number 40. That particular night, my barn burned. I got the stock out of it. I lost them. I lost everything. But I kept some things from my stock and under custody so that I can live now. So what, my Lord, I must do? I asked him a small penalty, but he did not give me. In addition to he burned my barn, sir. Where is the nigger? Have you got him? The judge asked, page number 41. Judge asked, where is that negro? Call him. All right, he was a strange nigger. I tell you, my Lord, I tell you, he is a very stranger. One day or another day we can see him. Some days, many time continuously, he may be absent from our native place. I don't know what became of him, but what not proof? Don't you have proof? Don't you see that he is not a proof? Get that boy here. Then judge or justice called. That boy standing here, no one boy. That boy is Sati Snobs, son of Abner Snobs. Now let him come. Let me ask him what really happened. Get that boy up here for a moment. Boy thought to the man meant for older brother until Harris said, not him, the little one. Harris was of the opinion then, no need to question him because he's a small boy to answer. Not him, the little one, the boy. Crouching small, his age and small and wiry like his father. Patched in faded jeans even to small him with straight uncombed brown hair. He was not in perfectly keeping his hair. He is very unwanted child. He is nothing to do with this business. He saw the man between himself and the table. Part became lane of grim faces at the age of which he was a justice. So he was totally worried because even in our age when we go to law court, we face a lot of inhibitions to face judges and police people. Here also the boy is totally worried and shocked to answer questions of justice. He felt no floor under his bare feet and seemed to be with the palpable to be touched or felt. Fate of the grim turning. His father stiff in his black Sunday coat. The particular coat that he was wearing to go to churches and all that. He had a black coat on his body. He aims of me to lie, he thought in the front as grief and despair, and you have to go do. What is your name, boy? Justice asked. Justice called. What is your name, boy? Then the boy answered, Colonel Sartorius Snobs. The boy whispered, Hi, talk louder. Colonel Sartorius. And I reckon anybody named Colonel Sartorius in the country can't help but tell the truth. Suppose you are to be a colonel in the field, then I tell you, you just report only the truth what happened. Then, do you want me to question this boy? Then justice asked our Harris, am I to question? Am I to make an argument or make a question with this boy? But he could hear during the subsequent long seconds, while was absolutely no sound, that the quiet and intent bathing was swung at the end of the grapevine over a ravine, that a ravine to the top of the swing has been called prolonged. Instant of mesmerized gravity, weightless in time, our Sati Snobs was under influence of his inhibitions. What to answer him? What will be the correct answer? Like that, in front of justice, he was totally collapsed. No, Harris told. No, sir. No need asking him because he is very innocent boy. violently, explosively, damnation, send him out here. I ask you to send him out of the court. Now time the fluid veil rush beneath him again. Voices coming to him again through smell of cheese, sealed meat, fear, despair, old grief of the blood. This case is closed. Justice undoubtedly declared the answer that the case is dismissed. The case is closed. I can't find anything against this man. I can give you an advice. No need of punishment, no need of judgment, but I can give you one advice. Justice reporter. What advice? Mr. Snobs, leave this country. Don't come back to this village. You underline. This is the pronouncement. Probably there will be a university question. What was the judgment given by the justice? Justice told Snobs and family, you leave this country, don't come to this place once again. It was the punishment. His father spoke the first time, his voice and harsh level without emphasis. Yeah, then our Abner Snobs reported, yeah, that is true. I don't want to live with these bloody people. I also want to go away from this land like I don't figure to stay in country among the people who had been something unprintable, violent, and addressed to no one. That I will do. Take your wagon, get out of this country before the dark. Case dismissed. Then justice reported, now the case is totally dismissed. Now you can take your wagon and go. His father turned and he followed the stiff court and very figure walking little stiffy from the Confederate provost whose many's musket ball had taken him to the heel stolen horse 30 years ago. Followed the two backs now cast between gallery and down the staggering steps among the dogs and half-grown boys in the May. Burner. Then our child, means our Sati Snobs, along with his father Abner Snobs, they began to climb to the wagoner, where the wagon, then children began to call his father burner, just like calling bad names. Again could not see, whirling the face was red haze, moonlike, bigger than full moon, the honor of the half of the size. He leaping in the red base in the face, feeling blow, feeling no shock, feeling to blow his time either, tasting no blood, scraping to sea, to full flight himself, ready, leaping to pursuit his father's hand. And his father was totally worried and angry and fury. He asked, go get into the wagon. He commanded all the people, probably his father and mother and 5 and children, all other children. Out of fury and anger, he told, get into the wagon. Let us go out of this country. We don't want to live among these bloody people, these drunkards. Then let us go out of our country and go. Go get into the wagon. Get, everybody climb. He stood grove in the locust and marberries across the road. His 2 hucking sisters on Sunday dresses. His mother, his sister in calico cotton dresses, sun bonnets and some big hat shapes caps they were wearing. Sitting on among the sorry residue as more moving, which even the boy remember, battered stove, broken bits of chairs, it clock in alley, mother of the pearl which would not stopped some 14 minutes past into clock of a dead forgotten day. She was crying. My mother was also in the wagon. Then she was crying because of taking all the things from this one country to another country, which would make a lot of problems. So that this clock in well, and she was crying, get back. Father said no other way, but everybody get back. His hot eye got into some of the bushes. Then the same time the child was crying, and a mother told, let us take this child to wash his face. His older brother had appeared from somewhere in the crowd to tell her that, "Father, get back in the wagon," I said. Father was very much angry. He was talking. "Get back into the wagon," I said. He got into over the tailgate. His father mounted to the seat where the old brother already sat, stuck with the gaunt mules. The wagon was taken by two very gaunt mules. Gaunt means very weak. Very weak means very tender minded, and they are not too weak to walk. Then blows and peeled willow without heat. It was not even sadistic. It was exactly the same quality which later years and caused his descendants to overcome, striking and riding back in the same moment. The wagon slowly went on. Among the people who are sitting inside the wagon was crying and crying because out of the exasperative nature of Father Snubs, and they cannot follow him forever, he thought. Maybe he's done satis now that he has snobbing himself. Not to allow him, so his mother is at a touch his shoulder. "Does it hit hard?" she asked. "No, he don't hurt. Let me. Can you wipe some of the blood of the dries? I will wash tonight. Let me, I'll tell you." The wagon slowly went on, continued, because of the sound only they heard. He did not know where they were going. Underline, the wagon went on, they moved, continued the journey. Our Sati snobs is crying, sitting in the wagon, does not know where they are going. Underline this statement. Wagon went on and on. But Sati did not know where they were going. None of them ever did, asked, because Father was totally angry and nobody was having courage enough to ask him where they are going, because the judgment to be executed. Always house of the swords and waiting of them, day 2 days and 3 days away. Likely his father had already to make a crop in another farm. But from his determination, Sati understood. And our Abner Snobs, his father, had much plans, and he is going to buy or going to work in another field, which he has a plan in future. Again, he had to stop himself. He always did. That was the nature of his father. There was something about his Wolfiki. Wolfiki means hungry people, independence, even courage when the advantage was at least neutral, which he impressed the strangers. If they got from his latent raving ferocity, sense of dependability, as a feeling that his ferocious conviction, the rightness of his own action, would be advantage to all the interested levities. What does it mean? The man who is leading the house is Abner Snobs, but the protagonist is Sati Snobs. Sati Snobs, he had a very much faith in his father, though he was punished by the justice to get away out of this native place to another country. But my father, as a sincere hard worker, will find a particular place to work on and move his land. That audacious nature our Sati Snobs had on his father. And what is going to happen? They already went out of their native place to find another working place, and their wagon is moving, and the people who are sitting, the relatives, mother, father, and other children of Abner Snobs, thinking about their future, near future, what is going to happen. Let us see what happens in the next class. Thank you.